Hi, this is Alex from phpacademy.org, back with another video for the new Boston. Now in this video we're going to be looking at checking whether a file exists before we actually create it on our server. Now why would we want to do this in a real life application? Well, let's say you had a file upload form and you were allowing users to upload specific files and maybe storing them in an area that they can be viewed for either public or your own personal use. So you may be asking users to upload, for example, CVs, or you may be asking them to upload images that contribute to part of a website. So you're going to have specific location or locations that you're going to store images in. However, if you're generating random, say, numbers for the image file names, they could still match. However random you create a number to be, there's always the possibility that it could match. So for example, what we could do is create a file name on upload. So if you haven't already looked at uploads, go back and have a look at that before you probably focus on this tutorial. Because you need to understand how we use the move uploaded file function to rename our file once we've moved it from a temporary location. Your file name might be rand number between say 1000 and 9999, and then you might have the MD5 hash of the original file name. So the file name might be called image.jpg, so MD5 hash file name, let's say OR for original, and then let's say you might have another random number between 1000 and 9999. So the MD5 hash is basically going to create a 32 character hash from this here. So let's go ahead and echo out the file name and see what result we get first of all. Okay, so this is the random file name that we may have generated to save on our server. So let's say the user, the first user uploads an image called image.jpg. Everything's fine, the image is stored. However, what happens if, say, 1,000 users later, someone else uploads an image called image.jpg, and this random number here and this random number here happen to equal the same as what's already been stored here and what's already been stored here. So there's a way we can deal with this, and we need to use the file exists function. So we can check whether a file exists before we perform an action. So let's go and have a look at this function itself. So the function is called file_exists. This is how we call the function, and the parameter that we give is the file name itself. So for example, I could say file exists file.txt or image.jpg, etc, etc, etc. So what I'm going to do is, in this example, I'm going to check whether a specific file exists, and if not, I'm going to create a text file. So we're not quite uploading images or documents at the moment, but you can apply this example to your own web application. So let's go ahead and say if file exists, and we need to specify a file name in here. We'll do that a bit later. Then what we're going to do is not create the file. So in here, we're not going to create the file. Otherwise, we're going to create a file. So the file is going to be called file.txt. So what we need to do is we need to say if file exists file name echo file already exists. Now what's going to happen is this file exists function is going to return a true value if the file already exists, and it's going to return a false value if the file does not exist. So if this is returned true, it means that this file.txt is already present in our directory here, in this file handling directory. But we can obviously specify different directories. So you may have a dir /file, for example. The folder might be called dir. So you can use directories within this file exists function as well. So if the file does exist, if this returns true, we're going to echo to the user file already exists. Otherwise, we're going to say handle equals fopen. And if you haven't already looked at file handling, have a look at this before you try to understand this code. Then we want to fopen file name for writing. We want to fwrite to handle, and I'm just going to write nothing inside, for example, and then we want to close this file by its handle. So what we've essentially done is we've checked this file.txt exists. So if it does already exist, we're just going to say to the user file already exists, so we're just going to give them an error message. Otherwise, we're going to open up a file, and this is saved in the variable handle, and then we're going to write just the value of nothing to the file. So we're just writing this text into the file, and we're opening using the write. So this doesn't matter too much within this example. However, if you've already looked at creating files and writing data to files, this should make sense to you. So what we're going to do for this example is we are going to click on file.php, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go back and see if the file's been created. Then we're going to go back into file.php, and we should receive a message saying the file already exists, because what file.php is doing is creating this file for us. Let's go ahead and click on file.php. So we've got blank. So we can assume in this example that when we've run this page, that the file has been created. Let's go back and refresh. You can see that we've now got file.txt, and we've written the value of nothing to this. Now when we enter file.php for the second time, what we're now doing is we're checking if the file already exists, so if file.txt already exists. So now we can see if this function is properly working. So well, we already know that it's working because we've run the second block of the if statement, but let's go and check it anyway. So it says file already exists. So this is the file exists function in PHP. Really useful, like I said, when you're handling file uploads and you want to check if a file name already exists, just to ensure that you don't overwrite.